Combat. Though Daggerheart relies on the same flow of collaborative storytelling in and out of combat, physical conflicts rely more heavily on several key mechanics related to attacking, maneuvering, and taking damage. Evasion. Evasion represents a character's ability to avoid attacks and other unwanted effects. Any roll made against a PC has a difficulty equal to the target's evasion. A PC's base evasion is determined by their class, but can be modified by domain cards, equipment, conditions, and other effects. Note: attacks rolled against adversaries use the target's difficulty instead of evasion. Hit points and damage thresholds. Hit points, HP, represent a character's ability to withstand physical injury. When a character takes damage, they mark 1 to 3 hit points based on their damage threshold. If the final damage is at or above the character's severe damage threshold, they mark 3 hit points. If the final damage is at or above the character's major damage threshold but below their severe damage threshold, they mark 2 hit points. If the final damage is below the character's major damage threshold, then they mark 1 hit point. If incoming damage is ever reduced to 0 or less, no hit points are marked. A PC's damage thresholds are calculated by adding their level to the listed damage thresholds of their equipped armor. A PC's starting hit points is based on their class, but they can gain additional hit points through advancements, features, and other effects. An adversary's damage thresholds and hit points are listed in their stat blocks. When a character marks their last hit point, they fall. If a PC falls, they get to make a death move. Characters can clear hit points by taking downtime moves, see downtime, or by activating relevant special abilities or effects. Optional rule: massive damage. If a character ever takes damage equal to twice their severe threshold, they mark 4 hit points instead of 3. Stress. Stress represents how much mental, physical, and emotional strain a character can endure. Some special abilities or effects require the character to activate them to mark stress, and the Games Master can require a player character to mark stress as a GM move, or to represent the cost, complication, or consequence of an action roll. When a character marks their last stress, they become vulnerable, see conditions, until they clear at least 1 stress. When a character must mark 1 or more stress but can't, they mark 1 hit point instead. A character can't use a move that requires them to mark stress if all of their stress is marked. PCs can clear stress by making downtime moves, see downtime. A PC's maximum stress is determined by their class, but they can increase it through advancements, abilities, and other effects. Attacking. Attack rolls. An attack roll is an action roll intended to inflict harm. The trait that applies to an attack roll is specified by the weapon or spell being used. Unarmed attack rolls use either strength or finesse, Games Master's choice. An attack roll's difficulty, unless otherwise noted, is equal to the difficulty score of its target. Damage rolls. On a successful attack, roll damage. Damage is calculated from the damage roll listed in the attack's description, with the format XDY plus bracket modifier close bracket. E.g., for a spell that inflicts 1d8 plus 2 damage, you roll an 8-sided die and add 2 to the result. The damage dealt is equal to the total. Anytime an effect says to deal damage using your spellcast trait, you roll a number of dice equal to your spellcast trait. Note: if your spellcast trait is +0 or lower, you don't roll anything. For weapons, the number of damage dice you roll is equal to your proficiency. Note that your proficiency multiplies the number of dice you roll, but doesn't affect the modifier. For example, a PC with proficiency 2, wielding a weapon with a damage rating of d8 plus 2, deals damage equal to 2d8 plus 2 on a successful attack. Successful unarmed attacks inflict proficiency d4 damage. Critical damage. When you get a critical success, i.e. you roll matching values on your duality dice on an attack roll, you deal extra damage. Make the damage roll as usual, but add the maximum possible result of the damage dice to the final total. For example, if an attack would normally deal 2d8 plus 1 damage, a critical success would deal 2d8 plus 1 plus 16. Damage types. There are 2 damage types: physical damage, PHY, and magic damage, MAG, Phi or Mag. Unless otherwise stated, mundane weapons and unarmed attacks deal physical damage, and spells deal magic damage. Resistance, immunity, and direct damage. If a target has resistance to a damage type, then they reduce incoming damage of that type by half before comparing it to their hit point thresholds. If the target has additional ways of reducing incoming damage, such as marking armor slots, they apply the resistance effect first. The effects of multiple resistances to the same damage type do not stack. If a target has immunity to a damage type, they ignore incoming damage of that type. If an attack deals both physical and magic damage, a character can only benefit from resistance or immunity if they are resistant or immune to both damage types. Direct damage is damage that can't be reduced by marking armor slots. Multi-target attack rolls. If a spell or ability allows you to target multiple adversaries, make 1 attack roll and 1 damage roll, then apply the results to each target individually. Multiple damage sources. Damage dealt simultaneously from multiple sources is always totaled before it's compared to its target's damage thresholds. For example, if a player character with Orc ancestry makes a successful attack against a target in melee range, and decides to spend a hope to use their Tusks feature, which gives them an extra 1d6 damage on a damage roll, they would roll their normal weapon damage and add d6 to the result, then deal that total damage to the adversary. Maps, range, and movement. You can play Daggerheart using Theatre of the Mind or maps and miniatures. The conversions below from abstract ranges to physical measurements assume 1 inch of map represents about 5 feet of fictional space. Daggerheart uses the following ranges to translate fictional positioning into relative distance for the purposes of targeting, movement, and other game mechanics. Melee, close enough to touch, up to a few feet away. Very close, close enough to see fine details, about 5 to 10 feet away. While in danger, a character can move as part of their action from very close range to melee range. On a map, anything within the shortest length of game card, 2 to 3 inches. Close. Close enough to see prominent details, about 10 to 30 feet away. While in danger, a character can move as part of their action from close range into melee range. On a map, anything within the length of a pencil, 5 to 6 inches. Far. Close enough to see very little detail, about 30 to 100 feet away. While in danger, a character must make an agility roll to safely move from far range into melee range. On a map, anything within the length of the long edge of a piece of copy paper, 11 to 12 inches. Very far. Too far to make out any details, about 100 to 300 feet away. While in danger, a character must make an agility roll to safely move from very far range into melee range. On a map, anything beyond far range, but still within the bounds of the conflict or scene. Out of range. Anything beyond a character's very far range is out of range and usually can't be targeted. Range is measured from the source of an effect, such as the attacker or spellcaster, to the target or object of an effect. A weapon, spell, ability, item, or other effect stated range is a maximum range unless otherwise noted. It can be used at closer ranges. Optional rule: defined ranges. If your table would rather operate with more precise range rules, you can use a 1-inch grid battle map during combat. If you do, use the following guidelines for play. Melee, 1 square. Very close, 3 squares. Close, 6 squares. Far, 12 squares. Very far, 13 plus squares. Out of range, off the battle map. Movement under pressure. When you're under pressure or in danger and make an action roll, you can move to a location within close range as part of that action. If you're not already making an action roll, or if you want to move further than your close range, you need to succeed on an agility roll to safely reposition yourself. An adversary can move within close range for free as part of an action, or within very far range as a separate action. Area of effect. Unless otherwise stated, all the targets of a group effect must be within very close range of a single origin point within your effect's range. Line of sight and cover. Unless otherwise stated, a ranged attacker must have line of sight to their intended target to make an attack roll. If a partial obstruction lies between the attacker and the target has cover. Attacks made through cover are rolled with disadvantage. If the obstruction is total, there is no line of sight. Conditions. Conditions are effects that grant specific benefits or drawbacks to the target that they are attached to. Standard conditions. Daggerheart has 3 standard conditions. Hidden. While you're out of sight from all enemies and they don't otherwise know your location, you gain the hidden condition. Any rolls against a hidden creature have disadvantage. After an adversary moves to where they would see you, you move into their line of sight, or you make an attack, you are no longer hidden. Restrained. Restrained characters can't move, but you can still take actions from their current position. Vulnerable. When a creature is vulnerable, all rolls targeting them have advantage. Some features can apply special or unique conditions which work as described in the feature text. Unless otherwise noted, the same condition can't be applied more than once to the same target. Temporary tags and special conditions. A temporary tag denotes a condition or effect that the affected creature can clear by making a move against it. When an affected PC makes a move to clear a temporary condition or effect, it normally requires a successful action roll using an appropriate trait. When an affected adversary makes a move to clear a temporary condition or effect, the Games Master puts the spotlight on the adversary and describes how they do it. This doesn't require a roll, but it does use up that adversary's spotlight. Special conditions are only cleared when specific requirements are met, such as completing a certain action or using a particular item. The requirements for clearing these conditions are stated in the text of the effect that applies the condition. Downtime. Between conflicts, the party can take a rest to recover expended resources and deepen their bonds. During a rest, each PC can take up to 2 downtime moves. When the party rests, they must choose between a short rest and a long rest. If a party takes 3 short rests in a row, their next rest must be a long rest. If a short rest is interrupted, such as by an adversary's attack, the characters don't gain its benefits. If a long rest is interrupted, the characters only gain the benefits of a short rest. A short rest lasts enough time for the party to catch its breath, about an hour in world time. Each player can move domain cards between their loadout and vault for free, then choose twice from the following list of downtime moves. Players can choose the same move twice. Tend to wounds. Clear 1d4 plus tier hit points for yourself or an ally. Clear stress. Clear 1d4 plus tier stress. Repair armor. Clear 1d4 plus tier armor slots from you or an ally's armor. Prepare. Describe how you prepare yourself for the path ahead, then gain a hope. If you choose to prepare with 1 or more members of your party, you each gain 2 hope. At the end of a short rest, any features or effects with a limited number of uses per rest refresh, and any features or effects that last until your next rest expire. A long rest is when the characters make camp and relax or sleep for several in-game hours. Each player can move domain cards between their loadout and vault for free, then choose twice from the following list of downtime moves. Players can choose the same move twice. Tend to all wounds. Clear all hit points for yourself or an ally. Clear all stress. Clear all stress. Repair all armor. Clear all armor slots for you or an ally's armor. Prepare. Describe how you prepare for the next day's adventure, then gain a hope. If you choose to prepare with one or more members of your party, you each gain 2 hope. Work on a project. With GM approval, a PC may pursue a long-term project, such as deciphering an ancient text or crafting a new weapon. The first time they start a new project, assign it a countdown. Each time a PC makes the work on a project move, they either advance their project's countdown automatically or make an action roll to advance it, GM's choice. At the end of a long rest, any features or effects with a limited number of uses per rest or per long rest refresh, and any features or effects that last until your next rest or until your next long rest expire. Downtime consequence. On a short rest, the Games Master gains 1d4 fear. On a long rest, they gain fear equal to 1d4 plus the number of player characters, and they can advance a long-term countdown of their choice. Death. When a PC marks their last hit point, they must make a death move by choosing one of the following options. Blaze of Glory. Your character embraces death and goes out in a blaze of glory. Take one final action. It automatically critically succeeds with GM approval, and then you cross through the veil of death. Avoid death. Your character avoids death and faces the consequences. They temporarily drop unconscious, and then you work with the Games Master to describe how the situation worsens. While unconscious, your character can't move or act, and they can't be targeted by an attack. They return to consciousness when an ally clears one or more of their marked hit points, or when the party finishes a long rest. After your character falls unconscious, roll your hope die. If its value is equal to or less than your character's level, they gain a scar, permanently cross out a hope slot, and work with the Games Master to determine its lasting narrative impact, and how, if possible, it can be restored. If you ever cross out your last hope slot, your character's journey ends. Risk it all. Roll your duality dice. If the hope die is higher, your character stays on their feet and clears a number of hit points or stress equal to the value of the hope die. You can divide the hope die value between hit points and stress however you'd prefer. If the fear die is higher, your character crosses through the veil of death. If the duality dice shows matching results, your character stays up and clears all hit points and stress. If your character dies, work with the Games Master before the next session to create a new character at the current level of the rest of the party.